So one of the main things that we talked about was a little fucking nerd named Bill Gates. You heard of this guy? Anybody heard of him? Bill Gates? So a new Wall Street Journal article came out. You know how there's been those that series basically of articles that they have.
Yeah, the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal have basically spent a lot of time filing a lot of FOIAs to get a lot of documents out of the Virgin Islands based on a ton of the stuff they've been filing in their lawsuit. Yeah,
so I think, best guess is they've been doing FOIA suits against the motherfucking Virgin Islands and been getting this stuff this way. I know somebody who has the documents, and I know you might be listening to this episode, and I know you didn't respond to my text messages, but you can't escape me. I'm talking directly to you. You know who you are. Send me the documents. But Bill Gates, one of the hottest fucking studs. Liz, let me ask you this, a little fresh and fit moment. Bill Gates, 1 to 10.
Sorry, what's the good side and what's the bad side?
1 to 10. I'm just asking you.
He is just a no thank you from me.
A no thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to say he's a 7.5.
He has that you hit a certain age and your skin starts to go transparent.
So true.
He has that and very ready.
He's ready.
Ready but clear skin. But not clear of acne as in see-through.
So you know Gollum, right?
Yeah.
The fucked up.
The little guy.
He's kind of an evil ape. Gollum at one point was a kind of hobbit. I don't know if you're familiar with the backstory of Gollum.
Zero, absolutely not.
All good. You know what I'm talking about, Young Chomsky. Gollum was at one point was a kind of hobbit. I don't know what kind of hobbit, but I do know this. I've always been curious of what Gollum might have looked like before he became a fucked up sewer creature. I believe Bill Gates belongs to that same race of hobbit. You know what I mean? He's a diminutive man who
But isn't he very big?
He doesn't appear that way to me in my mental space.
In your memory of him.
But I don't think he is that big. No, I think he's kind of
I thought he was
shriveled.
tall.
I don't know if he is. He reads not tall to me. But I mean, there's no way he's over 5'6". Oh, you think that's tall?
No, I thought.
You think 5'10" is tall?
No, I thought he was 6'4".
You thought Bill Gates was 6'4"?
Yeah, but that he had really bad posture because he is always rounded over because he is computer man.
He's computer man.
He's for his entire life he's got tech neck.
He's got
his
tech
whole
neck.
life. He's got tech spine.
So Bill Gates, unlike many of you listening to this podcast, has been cheating on his wife. Well, ex-wife now. So Bill Gates, it's pretty clear, I think, if you read between the lines and then also read the lines themselves, that Bill Gates was and I'll say this again, I've said this many times on the podcast, he was a fucking cocksman. He was going, well, don't shake your head like that at me. He was. That's the literal definition.
I'm not shaking my head at you. I'm shaking my head at him.
A philanderer.
He's disgusto.
He was stepping out on his wife with a young Russian bridge player named Mila Antonova.
Do you know how to play bridge?
I do not. I don't know. What's the game people play? Canasta? Canasta.
I think bridge is having a bridge resurgence, though, and it has been for a while. But.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, not with me. But with Bill Gates, he's been an avid bridge player since childhood. He met Mila Antonova at some kind of bridge tournament. There is video. This is, you can just Google Mila Antonova, Bill Gates. You can fucking find it. I'm not linking that shit for you. They're very flirty. She's like, oh, I'm kicking his leg under the table. She's in her mid-20s when they meet. He's in his mid-50s. Problematic age gap. And they have some kind of affair. We do not have a lot of insight into what that affair looks like. That affair was confirmed, basically, by Bill Gates' people. The article is very scant on details about exactly how long that lasted, etc. But a few years after this affair at least started, she was introduced to one Jeffrey Epstein, convicted pedophile, by a guy named Boris Nikolic.
Who we have not talked about in a very long time.
Yes. Yeah. We talked about it quite a bit sort of at the beginning, but he's at the beginning of our show.
Yeah.
But he has, understandably, kept a pretty low profile.
Which is admittedly very difficult when your name is Boris Nikolic.
But he was
Much easier if your name is just Ben Smith.
Bill Gates' science advisor, and also the executor to Jeffrey Epstein's estate.
Yes.
Epstein, of course, was very, very close to many at the Gates Foundation, including Melanie Walker, who was also a bigwig at the World Bank. He'd known her since the early 90s when he approached her alongside one Donald J. Trump while she was sightseeing in New York City at the Plaza Hotel. She was close with Epstein and had an address listed as his address listed as her address for like a decade, from like the 90s to 2000. Later, of course, married Steven Sinofsky, an executive at Microsoft. So we learn in that article, too, that Epstein and Gates met together with Norwegian officials.
Which, yes, there are officials from Norway. Something that I learned from reading this article.
Including one... Okay.
You got to do it. You
You
started.
can pronounce names any way you'd like.
Actually, can I do it?
Yeah.
Thorbjorn Jagland.
It's... Can I try mine? A little ping pong here. Thorbjorn Jagland. Thorbjorn. You named your baby? You look at a baby and you're like, that's a Thorbjorn. Anyway, he's a former prime minister of Norway. They meet at his house, a house he owns, rather, in France in 2013 to discuss a possible Nobel Peace Prize for one Bill Gates. They now claim, at least Gates's people do, that Epstein and Bill Gates met with these Norwegian officials in order to discuss the security situation in Afghanistan in relation to Gates's polio vaccine. My question here is, Liz, you are Bill Gates, like the famous rich guy, probably the most famous rich guy before, I mean, he probably still is the most famous rich guy, but like, you know, Elon Musk kind of supplanted him in some ways. But like Bill Gates doesn't need an introduction from Jeffrey Epstein, right?
You'd think.
Norwegian officials.
Yeah, I don't really believe that.
Yeah, I'm wondering what they were doing at that villa in France. And anyways, fast forward to 2017, and Epstein sends a email to Bill Gates asking him to reimburse him because he had paid for the young Russian bridge player Mila Antinova's coding boot camp back in 2013. And Epstein was like, you got to pay me back.
Yeah, this guy, I mean, that was his MO. He's always paying for girls' tuition.
But Gates's people are claiming that it was an attempt at blackmail, which I think actually makes this story kind of important because this would be the first actual, literal, confirmed case of Jeffrey Epstein doing blackmail, specifically involving a young woman, although of course of age, a young woman and a prominent, powerful person like Bill Gates. And so I think it's actually pretty major in that sense. But by 2017, Epstein wasn't doing so hot, and Gates, I think, just did not respond.